Hello, Robs. I'm live from the floor of Book Room 2. Now that I've relocated my mattress upstairs to avoid the Arctic cold. And I've decided that I must read this book at some point soon on the channel, The Three Loves of Dostoevsky by Slonim. Don't know anything about Dostoevsky. Marc Slonim. In this library binding book that used to belong to the Detroit Library. What year is this? What year is it, bruv? I don't think I can read it in 5 days. Reinhardt and Company, Marc Slonim, 1955. To Tanya. And when you say library binding, as you can see, it doesn't appear to be the manufacturer's binding. So I assume that it's been rebound, especially since this is present on the side of the spine. I don't know why libraries used to rebind books. Apparently it was cheaper, or maybe they did it themselves. The Library of Stanley Neal Bench. I will have to look at. No, good. It has to be hench, you idiot, since it's SNH. He's a henchman. Stanley Neal Hench. Other books by Marc Slonim, The Epic of Russian Literature, Modern Russian Literature, Three Loves of Dostoevsky, Soviet Literature, Modern Italian Short Stories. This thing called Love. Three Loves of Dostoevsky, to Tanya. Forward, this book is a narrative based on carefully checked material of the love life of Dostoevsky, who was not only one of the greatest writers of the 19th century, but at the same time, an extraordinary man and lover. How do you know he was a good lover? It is well known that Dostoevsky was a fascinating storyteller. His novels brought him universal fame during his lifetime and make him dear to the modern reader because of their psychological insight and philosophical depth. They're full of strange plots, fantastic characters, haunting situations, and surprise endings. They explore the dark recesses of the human soul and deal with perversions of the mind and flesh, unbridled instincts, insane drives, pathological twists, and spirit of spirit and body fill his memorable pages with fire and unrest. Yet, hardly any of his works is as startling, romantic, or passionate as his own life, particularly the underground life which he spent with prostitutes, idealistic married women of the world, attractive and independent, and young girls, sensual and self-sacrificing. Dostoevsky's widow, as well as his daughter, who together set the pattern for many later biographers and critics, simply avoided mentioning certain facts which might throw an unfavorable light on the pure, virtuous, saint-like image of the great writer they were trying to transmit to posterity. The widow did not merely conceal many aspects of her husband's tempestuous life, but blacked out with indelible ink various passages in his letters and papers that are considered risque, indecent, or undesirable. Dostoevsky's own Reserve was also responsible for the somewhat falsified picture of his complexes and erotic adventures that has come down to us in his own correspondence and even in conversation. He jealously guarded his intimate feelings and actions so that in many instances we are permitted only a casual glimpse of the truth. As far as certain basic aspects of his life are concerned, such as his epilepsy, his presumed rape of a child, what? Other sexual aberrations, we are reduced to conjectures. However, despite the scarcity of material and the gaps and evasions in what we have, we do possess a sufficient amount of data to attempt the reconstruction of his principal events of his inner history. We can trace the highly controversial pattern of his affections, and we are well informed about the women he loved, since several of them left revealing diaries or memoirs. To follow Dostoevsky through his erotic underground is in many respects an excellent way to understand his personality and makes a real contribution to the comprehensive interpretation of his work. But above all, we are offered a story of unusual human significance and depth. One does not need to be a rabid Dostoevskian or even much of a reader of his tales to be stirred by the odd and passionate record of his love affairs. It reveals so much about sex, women, man's nature, love, marriage, that it ceases to be merely a footnote to literary history and enters into the category of genuine, first-hand human documents. The fact that there are very few notes should not mislead the reader or embarrass the scholar. The accuracy of every fact reported in these pages, down to the most trivial details, is vouchsafed for by letters, diaries, recollections of contemporaries, and other source material. The reader will find at the end of the volume a partial list of the many works the author consulted during his 3 years of research. And the contents are such. Part 1, Maria, the First Love, which is 94 pages. Part 2, Apollinaria, the Eternal Mate, 95, which is 90 pages. And Part 3, Anna, the Happy Marriage, which 185 to approximately 290s. 100 pages. Chapters seem rather short, honestly. They've got this weird nuclear disaster thing on them. Anyway, I plan to read this at some point. That's all, bruv. That's all. Goodbye.